Gave you 10 a week ago. You told me that you got me when your check came home. I've been waiting patiently cause you my homie, bro. But times is getting hard, so I'ma need to see that cheddar though. You ain't been picking up, you finding escapes. I might have to white you out just like you Colgate.
Welcome to another show. Well, guys, I got a comment from Targeted Tyranny. He's always pretty active in the comment section, and he asked me something, and I thought it was a really good video. He always comes up with good stuff. But he was asking me if a lot of the stuff that targeted individuals deal with is just phony, right? When targets are getting street theater, when they are getting gaslighted, when they are being abused, when they are being attacked. Is this all just an act? Is it just a show? Well, some of it is, okay, but not all of it. And you have to remember, even with actors in Hollywood, they take emotions from their life and they kind of import them into their character, okay, into their acting, all right. And it's similar with perps, right? When you're dealing with theatrical gaslighting, I've made videos about all this stuff. When they're trying to sell you something, when they're lying to you, when they're trying to convince you that all this stuff is your fault and they have the right to abuse you and to do all these things, right? Well, some of it's just, it's like they're trying to convince themselves, right? Because their little conscience isn't completely dead.
You're not supposed to treat people that way. You suck.
It's back there talking to them. They might not hear it very well anymore, but it's still there. And I think it's important to make light of the fact that they know what they're doing is wrong. Some of them, they can get deceived. They can be manipulated. We've talked about the fact that a lot of times there'll be money involved and stuff like that. But then there's always the disinformation, right? Oh, this person's a freak or a deviant. They're a drug dealer, or they're some type of sexual predator or something like that. They'll make up lies. That's one of the ways they do that. They have to create an unsympathetic atmosphere around the target. Give people an excuse to abuse you. So some of that stuff happens where people believe it, but even then, they don't have the right to do it. They're not doing their homework. Okay, I've mentioned that before too. When you're dealing with targeted individuals, you can't just take somebody's word, and say, well, this person's, some kind of a freak, and they will produce fake documents. But really, when it comes down to it, they're just taking the damn money. Okay. Kind of like the song at the beginning of the video, "Give me my money."
Yeah. Came in 17. Damn.
But they'll try to convince themselves, right? And that's part of the game. It's a lot of it is entertainment too. Okay. Because they do enjoy themselves, guys. You've seen it. They get a spring in their step. They're one-upping. Oh, I'm glad I'm not you. I thought my life was kind of mundane, and it's like, now that I've seen you, in your predicament as a targeted individual, getting stepped on, being oppressed, subject to everything, getting attacked, getting ganged up on. Oh, your life is so bad for me. Yeah. And that's part of the social dynamic that targeted individuals are dealing with, and I've talked about that before, that when you have like a celebrity or something, and everybody, oh, I just love that person. Tiger Woods was a good example. Hopefully he won't start watching Gangstalking with Dr. DeFacto now. Somebody mentioned your name in a video. He said, what the hell? But he's a good example in the sense that everybody was in love with the guy, right? He could do no wrong, and then he screws up, or actually he just became too famous. People will secretly hate individuals who are successful or talented. A lot of you guys have a lot of potential, okay? A lot of you guys have some pretty serious gifts in your life, and that could be part of why some of this hate is coming your way, right? But, a successful guy like Tiger, and then he screws up, and it's just, they just assume barbecue him, right? And I've thought that before when I'm going through the comments. And there's the regulars like Targeted Tyranny or Dublin Fitzpatrick, people who they're very active, and you can count on them, for being positive generally. But there's some people, and I've talked about infiltrators before. They'll come in and, oh, you helped me, and oh, you're such a great person, and they'll play this game with you for quite a while. Okay, I've seen it. Sometimes they'll just disappear. They've got 5 comments per video for like a year, and poof, they're just gone. You know, and you'll see them on other people's channels and stuff like that. But a lot of times they'll play the game with you where oh yeah, they're giving you positive strokes, everything, and then they'll just flip on you, man. They'll do a 180 and you're a fake, or you're a perp, or you're working for the government, and sometimes you can see it. Sometimes you can see it, but not always. Like I said, there's those individuals out there, and they're still trying to bait me. It's ridiculous. They're triangulating this situation with the YouTube channel, and some of you targets are probably victims of them as well. I've seen that before, but I'm not going to get into it. But they pretend like they're your friend or whatever, and then they'll just flip on you, play a little game. And it's, I've talked about the fact that targets are manipulated. Their emotions are involved in this whole thing. They have to be. Okay, emotional currency is important when it comes to manipulating you, right? And that goes into this little act, right? Because part of it is just their own pathology. Like I said, they might get off on it or whatever, and and that's just the dissatisfaction that's in their life, self-hatred, if you will, and they'll just they'll project it onto you as a target, because that's really a lot of gangstalking. Is you're a scapegoat. You fit into that place, into that social dynamic as a scapegoat, right? And so they're going to take all the negative emotions they have, whoever you're dealing with, whether they believe that you deserve it or not, and they just they'll puke it out on you. That's your job as a targeted individual. You should be walking around with a hazmat suit on, all the stuff that you deal with, a face shield at least. I don't know how many of you have looked into the Stanford experiment, but it has to do with role playing. Okay, it has to do with they did an experiment where they had people that were prisoners, and then they had the guards. They appointed people, and at first they were all just regular college kids. And people started to step into their role, and they started playing it out. It got oppressive and violent and crazy, and it's part of the psychology of mankind. Okay, you're playing a role, and when people choose sides, like some people do in gangstalking, where they become part of the perps, right? And of course, they step into that role. But here's what I want to emphasize, okay? And I've talked about this before. You are not necessarily as much of a victim as they are, really. Technically, I believe that the perps are the ones that are really getting bamboozled the most, okay? Because I've talked about this a lot. They're going to pay for this stuff, okay? They're getting tricked. They're condemning themselves. The last thing that they're going to want to admit to when this whole thing is over is that they actually like some of it. Okay, and I've talked about that. They get off on it. Okay, but here's the thing. Okay, I don't really know how to put this, but you're not really the victim that they think you are. Okay. You're not. You're more like a decoy, okay? Technically, you would be more of the hunter, depending on how you look at this, than them, okay? Because your role as a targeted individual is to just mind your own business. You're not the one stalking someone. You're not the one, going out of your way and harassing people. You aren't the aggressor, right? You're just, there you are. Oh, please just let me live my life, right? But no, they won't let you do that, okay? And you guys have all seen it, probably in school, where you have the quiet person and they're getting bullied, and then they finally turn around and beat the shit out of somebody, and you're like, whoa, that's a game changer, right? Well, I'm not saying that you need to do anything like that, or that my emphasis is that just being non-reactive, right? And just playing the role of a good targeted individual, in the sense that you are minding your own business, you're being smart, you're following protocols, you're not reacting, you're not playing into their game. You're accelerating this whole thing for them in ways that you have no idea, okay? Because like I said before, I've talked about this a lot, they're breaking all the laws of the universe, okay? And when you're dealing with evil, when you were dealing with the kingdom of darkness, the kingdom of Satan, really, they're processing everyone. It's almost like they have a job to do. Okay, and I've talked about this in other videos. They know that they cannot beat God. Okay, that's not what this is about. Okay, the devil's like a lawyer. Okay, and he's devouring who he can devour. Okay, the demons are the same way. The Bible describes unclean spirits is that when they get cast out of a person, they're in waterless places where they can find no rest. Okay, it's kind of like a vampire. Okay, they're disembodied spirits, and they want something to inhabit. They want something to feed on. Okay, and there's perps out there laughing. Oh, you think the demons are after? They're after you. Well, we're working for them. Oh, okay. It might feel like that. It might seem like it now. Okay, but really, they are devouring the perps. They're going to take them. Unless they don't. If they repent, they can. They can be saved. They can come out of this thing. But if not, they're going to hell. Okay, I've talked about that before. I'm not saying I'm happy about it. I'm just it's a fundamental reality. Okay, and that, like I said, it's a legal scenario. Okay, and they're breaking rules. They are, and they are becoming infested with demons and with evil more and more every time they engage in the activity of gangstalking. Their hearts are becoming hardened. Their chances of repentance are dwindling, right? And the world is set up that way, okay? It's like vanity or pride. What happens? It's basically the penalty of becoming prideful. What's the opposite of pride? It's shame, right? And so when someone becomes prideful, all they have to do is be brought down. And what happens? It's the complete opposite of what they were trying to do. They wanted to be at the top, right? They wanted to be the king or the queen, and now they're at the bottom, right? And it's horrible for them, right? The equation of this world: geometric shapes, facial symmetry, beauty, vanity, right? Pride, and then all of a sudden, no, they're at the bottom. That's what they get, right? And that's too bad that they didn't realize those things were illusions, right? It's not going to be like that in the kingdom of heaven, right? Everything is given to us from God, right? He's the ruler. It's his glory that's displayed. This world has been hijacked. Everything is twisted around, right? But it's just like that. So what happens? Well, the penalty is right in there, right? So the hardening of someone's heart works the same way. It's kind of like the Pharaoh in Egypt, He had hardened his heart so much that he was killing little babies. He was drowning them in the Nile, the Israelite children. And God came in and he tried to warn him, but every time the Pharaoh hardened his heart, God would back him up on it. Okay, it's a fundamental reality. Kingdom of Darkness is doing that. When these people are attacking you, when they're engaging in this activity, it's the same way. Okay, they're becoming more cold, more reptilian, right? Their hearts are literally dying every time they do this stuff. They just don't know it. It's like the frog in the pot. You're a victim, but I don't know. You're more like a worm on a hook. And I've talked about that. I know what's going on. And I remember that. I know that when these people are attacking me, they're trying to play little games with me. I know what's happening. What are you doing to yourself, right? You just want to say that to them. What do you think is going to happen anyway? What are you doing? What do you think you're accomplishing? But they don't. They don't see it. They're blind, and they're becoming hardened all the time. And then you get all these theatrics. You get all the gaslighting. They're getting off on it. It's almost like they're becoming demons. And they're going to be in the same place right with them when this whole thing is over, unless they turn back. But the more they do it, the harder it's going to be for them to do that. We all lie to ourselves. Okay, I've done it. It's impossible to do. That's it eventually comes around. Okay, and a lot of people, there's no hell. You're the devil. Come on. No, it's real. It's there, and they know that. Like I said, it's a matter of hardening someone's heart. It's a matter of suppressing the truth in unrighteousness. But they know it's there. Okay. And the Bible's very clear about that God has written his laws upon every person's heart of mankind. Right? People always ask that question. What about the guy out there in the Amazon who's never heard the gospel? God knows how to judge him. Okay, he's got a conscience. He knows right from wrong, and God is going to judge him in the light that they have, right? Whatever that is. Anyway, let's get back to this theatrical stuff, and people do play roles. Okay, they get lost in it. Okay, that's part of the process, right? They step into the role of the oppressor. Gives them a sense of power because everybody experiences being a victim. I think some of the people that are perps, some of the people that are engaging in this stuff, they have probably been oppressed, and it gives them a sense of power. And narcissists are like that. There's something in their life that they do not have control over, something that makes them feel small. And when they come and do these things, in their minds, in their puny little minds, they feel powerful. They feel like they are strong. It's like a deception. It's an infection. It's an illusion, right? And it's a temporary fix. It's like being addicted to a drug. Eventually they're going to come down. Yeah, there's going to be some downtime. And it's usually when you're alone. And the other reality about this is that the people who are engaging in this stuff, they believe they're part of something that, is not going to turn on them. Well, that's not true, right? That's definitely not true. I've seen that stuff too before, where someone thinks that they're part of the horde, that there's going to be loyalty amongst all these. There isn't. The only difference between the targets like us that are getting attacked and them is that they just haven't been thrown into the meat grinder. Okay, they're next, right? And a lot of these people, the horde is going to turn against them, right? They're, for whatever reason, it doesn't matter. They could just run out of victims, or they could just decide you're an easy target too. There's no honor amongst these people. It just depends on who you're dealing with. Gangstalking can manifest a lot of different ways. Maybe if you're part of a secret society, but it just depends. There are people out there that believe that. Jack Ruby thought that. He was the guy that shot Lee Harvey Oswald after the Kennedy assassination. Right? He thought, he was hired to do that. Okay, they told him that he was going to get off. They were going to get him off, on the pretenses it was a crime of passion. right? He wasn't going to get thrown in prison. And the whole thing about Lee Harvey Oswald, he was working for the CIA, right? And what they were doing is they were trying to come up with a cure for cancer, right? You had the contaminated monkey tissue that was used in the vaccines. I'm not going to go into all that. But really what they ended up doing was finding a way to cause cancer, right? And they would use a vaccine that they developed, and they were going to use it to kill Castro, right? A lady figured out a way to give someone cancer by subjecting them to cigarette smoke and radiation along with a vaccine, okay? And Lee Harvey Oswald, he worked at some of these places, and he was like a bodyguard. And then he was selected to become a sympathizer, a defector in the eyes of the public, so that Castro would let him get close to him. And then Lee Harvey Oswald was going to, hit him with this, vaccine, and then they would hit him with radiation. And of course, he smoked cigars and everything, so it would kill him, right? But Jack Ruby, of course, like I said, he thought he was going to get off, and they threw him in prison. But not before they hit him with that vaccine, and then they subjected him to radiation. They left him in an x-ray room and just shot him with hours full of radiation. And then, of course, being in prison around all that cigarette smoke and everything, he died in prison of cancer from that vaccine that they hit him with. Originally it was supposed to kill someone within 30 days, but it actually takes a little longer than that. But the point is he thought he was safe, right? Jack Ruby thought he was a made man. Yeah, I'm part of the in crowd on this whole. You get thrown to the wolves too, because that's the way it is. You can't be part of something that's evil and think that there's loyalty, that there's goodness. There isn't. It's just a matter of who they're going to go after next. And speaking of the downtime, right? It's like they're addicts, right? Not only are they getting worse, not only are the perps, stepping into these roles and metamorphosizing into something even more evil and hardened, but the need to do it increases. Okay, it's like a junkie, right? They need it. The fix lasts, maybe for 12 hours at first, but then later it's not working out. It's harder to lie to yourself. Okay, the corruption is becoming more obvious, even though they are being hardened. Okay, and they have to do more to suppress the truth, and the culpability goes up. The negative emotions are stronger, and their need to step up on you as a target increases. Okay, the frequency, the level of abuse that is dished out by these people. It's disgusting. Well, guys, hopefully this video has helped. Thanks again, Targeted Tyranny. That was a great idea for a video. Be good to yourselves. Be safe.
Yeah. Came in 17. Damn.